Now that I'm 26, I can finally look back on my early 20s and really see what was keeping me stuck, what was holding me back, what was keeping me at a low vibration. Because I think until you have that kind of perspective, or that, you can look at things in hindsight, it's really difficult to assess what you could have done differently. And frankly, I wish I had a video like this when I was in my early 20s. I can't wait to share with you my 6 things that really, I think, held me back in my early 20s and that I now know not to do or to kind of avoid, because now I feel like I'm in a place where I am flourishing, I'm in flow state, I'm really living a life that I want to live on my own terms and in my authenticity. And that's certainly not the case for when I was in my 20s. I was definitely focused on the approval of others. I was focused on, the fact that external factors really dictated what happened to me. I was very focused on that, I'm just going to enjoy my 20s while I'm young only, and not really thinking about my future. So I'm going to go into 6 things that have really elevated me in my kind of, from the age of about 24 to 26, which is what I am now, and how much happier I am because of those things. First thing I want to talk about is the victim mentality. By God, I had a victim mentality. I would consistently and continually blame the things that happened to me on external factors, and I was not able to take accountability for my own participation in my own suffering, in my own problems in my life. When it came to things like goals, because things weren't working the way that I wanted to, and I thought of things as in a very linear way, I thought, well, if I put this work in, then I'll get this result. It doesn't really work like that, and I used to think, why am I kind of unlucky? What is it that I'm doing wrong? And because I used to think like that, I used to get very frustrated when things didn't work in my favour, because throughout my whole life, pretty much until that point, if I did something, put in the work for something, I'd get the results. A bit like studying, I would study something, really revise it, and then I would get the results when I got a good grade because I put in the work. And unfortunately, it was a cruel awakening when I found out that, unfortunately, when you take an alternative path, such as content creation, starting your own business, it doesn't really work like that. And pretty much most aspects of my life, I had that victim mentality, whether it was, why do boys not like me like I like them? Am I not attractive enough? Am I not good enough? Am I not charismatic enough? Oh, good things never happen to me, boys never like me kind of mentality, which just isn't true, wasn't true, and fortunately now I've recognised it's not true, but certainly massively in my early 20s that really held me back was thinking that I was just not good enough at success. I wasn't meant for content creation journey or being a content creator. I just wasn't good enough to make money on my art and my creativity. All of that just doesn't get you anywhere. Having those kind of thoughts and that mentality, and granted, look, we always have those thoughts, they always come up, but being able to look at them and think to yourself, that's not true though, where's the evidence? Let's see if this is actually true, or you're just feeling sorry for yourself. None of these thoughts help you move forward, and that's the problem. You deny yourself the chance to actually get better. Instead of thinking to yourself, my creations aren't good enough, my work's not good enough, why don't you think to yourself, how can I learn from this? Rather than thinking, well, this is just the reality for me, therefore I'm not going to bother anyway. You don't take accountability for what you could do differently. You don't take accountability for how you participate in your own suffering by perpetuating this victimhood. Okay, the sun's kind of coming around a bit. Sorry, just had to adjust for the lighting because the sun is right in my eye. When things happen that suck and make us feel like shit, obviously it's a natural human reaction to dwell on it, to feel a bit shit about it. So let yourself feel shit for a bit. Don't let that last to the point where it literally stops you from taking any action at all. And the thing is with the victim mentality is that it absolves you of responsibility to take action, to do something about the situation. So for example, say if the launch for your business doesn't go as planned and you don't really get the results that you want, you don't just throw in the towel and think to yourself, well, I'm just not meant to be a business owner, this is a sign that I'm not meant to do this and that my product's shit and that I'm not good enough. No, everybody deals with failure. You can get cross about it, be upset about it for like a day or two, however long it needs for you to grieve that and to be upset about it, fine. But to then just give up is where the victim mentality kind of takes over. What you need to do in that situation is to kind of keep you from being stuck, is to look at it and think, right, okay, now that I'm over it, or now that I've worked through it, I can see this as an opportunity to learn what went well, what didn't go well, and how can I improve? And then using that for your own arsenal to then go forward is where the power comes, where you're going to empower yourself. You're taking accountability for what didn't go well and using that to propel you forward. But if you have a victim mentality, you deny yourself that opportunity to actually grow, to actually become a better person. Use it to propel you forward, use it to reflect and learn, and you're good. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that in my early 20s and I guess late teens as well, I avoided for a long time what I truly wanted to do and what I truly loved doing, because I was scared about what other people would think and I was scared of being judged. And partly this is due to the fact that unfortunately I did actually have quite a few friends in my life that are no longer in my life who I know wouldn't have like approved of who I am now. But that is one aspect, but also this people pleaser aspect, which is that I wanted to do things for the approval of other people in general. And unfortunately that also manifested when it came to creating content. So I started creating content when I was 19 and I came out of school. Through school, I really cared about what people thought. I really cared about popularity. I really cared about, you know, getting validation from other people. During my gap year, I filmed my entire gap year. I posted like fashion pictures on my new page, on my new Instagram page, and I was really flourishing. Got to uni, and again, that people pleaser version of me started to crop up again in my early 20s. So I kind of didn't really carry on my content creation journey like I probably would have wanted to do and carry on that YouTube journey while I was at uni. And then when COVID happened, I actually had to come back from America because COVID was kind of rife there, and I had, I think 6, 7, 8 months I lived at home. But actually I had this massive chunk of time where I was able to actually, free from, you know, what other people thought, because I wasn't in a uni space, I was kind of out of it, I was able to actually again focus in on creating content and really going for it. And I started TikTok, I started YouTube. Again, I was still concerned about what people thought. I cared a lot about the male gaze. Boys might not find me attractive because I do YouTube. Like, that was definitely in my head, and wanting to people please and wanting to be attractive, wanting to be cool or whatever. When I would come on camera, I would have to put on a front because I just felt like I couldn't be this authentic version of me. And it actually has taken me 7 years, like fully, to come out of my shell as my authentic self. This was really validating actually, because I saw a video by Vanessa Lau, Lau, I want to pronounce that right, but she's a great YouTuber, I'm sure some of you follow her, and she talked about the same thing, that for a long time she was creating content for the algorithm. She was creating content because she knew that people would like specific videos or specific topics. She wasn't necessarily making videos for herself, so she felt herself masking, she felt herself people pleasing in her content. But certainly for me, that was definitely what I was doing. I was making content that I thought other people would approve of. It showed on camera. I was like really nervous, a bit jittery, like wasn't really my most confident self because I was pretending to be somebody else that other people would approve of, that my peers might approve of. What's the point? Like, it's so exhausting. And now I'm like, oh, wish I in my early 20s had just been like, fuck y'all, I'm gonna do exactly what I want to do and be my most authentic self. You know why it was a waste of time? Because the moment that I started to post shit that I actually really care about and really go for it with my content creation, especially on things like TikTok, those friends that I was so scared of their judgment have gone. They're no longer in my life, and I wasted years caring about what they would think. Being authentic removes the wrong people, frankly. And you know, I feel so free now that I can do this, and I don't care about whether or not people will like me or they won't like me, because the right people will be drawn to it and the wrong people will be repelled by it. And that's exactly how it should work in any aspect of your life. Doing things that society expects of you will only ever result in you feeling like you regret things, or you made the wrong decision, or you're not doing things for you. I made a video last couple of weeks, I think 2 weeks ago, saying that I regret going to uni. And that's a really bold statement, and I really was nervous to post it, but I do regret going to uni, and I did it because that's what everybody in my school was doing. That's what my teachers encouraged me to do. That was like the natural step forward next to, you know, after school. So go and watch that video because it really talks about, you know, why I wish I didn't go. But that was one thing that I did because society kind of expected that of me, and I was lost anyway, so I thought that would be a good way of delaying that feeling of feeling lost. Frankly, I feel like my time would have been better used for starting a business, learning on the job, which is basically how I've learned all my entrepreneurial skills anyway, and doing content creation. So I think, you know, as I knew in my gap year, I loved content creation and that was really my dream. And I didn't do it because that's not really what seen as natural next step would be for somebody with my grades and somebody that had gone to, like, you know, the school that I did go to. I know that people, you know, decide to do degrees and jobs that they don't want to do because that's what their parents want me to do. I speak to clients all the time who say, you know, I started this career because that's what my family wanted me to do and that's what I feel like I should do. I knew that, you know, it would get me good money and so on, but I'm miserable and I hate it. You know, one of my favourite YouTubers was a med student, and he's now like a YouTuber. He does content creation, he has like his own business, he absolutely loves it. That was his calling, but he did the sort of medical side because that's what he thought would gain the approval of potentially the people around him, his family, even himself. And he said he couldn't do it after a bit. He was like, I don't know if I can do like another year of this or another 6 months of this, like it's just draining him. And I think, you know, doing things for society's validation is really dangerous ground to be on. You know, I think I definitely went into the corporate world post-uni because I thought that that's what would make me feel good about myself, and that's what I'd kind of, again, been encouraged to do, is to go straight into corporate work because that's what other people had done and that's what was safe. I still work a corporate job, but I now see it as very much like supplementing and enabling me to be a full-time content creator. Herd mentality, or mentality of like, I want to do what other people are doing, served us back in caveman times when we would literally be ostracized if we didn't do what everybody else was doing. But now that we're in a society where we don't need to survive by doing what other people are doing and just to stick with the herd, I think it actually holds us back and it can keep us stuck and it just doesn't serve us anymore. So if you can be self-aware about that and be like, look, am I doing this for me or am I doing it because I want other people's approval, then which one is it going to be? Like, I need to be self-aware about that. And even if I think about it, like, part of me feels a bit weird saying, oh, I don't know if I've gone to uni, because in my head I'm still like, yeah, but I'm glad I went to uni because I can now say that I got a degree. Like, that is a telltale sign that really I shouldn't have gone, because or really that it probably wasn't the thing for me, because I'm still thinking, well, at least I'm glad I got a degree because I can then get society's approval of like, oh, I got a degree. That's not why I should have it. Like, the reason I should have a degree is because I really was interested in the subject. It should not be because I want to validate my own existence and feel like I've achieved something and feel like that's one of the only reasons why I'm successful. Like, I'm successful irrespective of whether I've got a degree or not. Something that I was really bad at when I was studying was workaholism and the procrastination that often comes with that. When we don't have a good setup when it comes to studying, when we don't give ourselves enough self-care time or time away from studying, time away from work, we not only procrastinate and waste time, but we also burn ourselves out. And I think for years and years, certainly my early 20s, while studying and while, you know, doing things like content creation, that kind of thing, I burnt myself out massively. As I said in previous videos, I literally was so obsessed with studying and so obsessed with work and using every opportunity to do work or whatever. Literally all my time was dedicated to that, even if it was procrastination. I remember going out for dinner with my family and I literally had like my laptop under the table. It was so extreme. I just felt every single moment I could be doing something. And I do find myself doing this now. Is a really important balance to be able to get, which is that you should not be absolutely obsessed with work and constantly feeling like you should be capitalizing on your time. You shouldn't. You should have rest time. And I think reading this book, The Happiness Advantage, makes you realize that rest is productive, that spending time with your family and your friends and enjoying yourself is productive. Doing hobbies and things that you love, going out, you know, exploring, having little adventures is productive. And I think when we are in that workaholism state, we think that the only productive thing is doing work, is working towards our goals, is doing something that is like, yeah, what you see as work. So for example, you know, posting a TikTok I see as work, you know, creating content I see as work, working on my business is seen as work. And every moment that I'm not doing that, like I feel a bit like conflicted about, for example, making content of day in the life or making content about everything in my life, because where is the line drawn? If you can make content about everything in your life, where's actual life? When are you actually living life just for the sake of it? I got into a phase where everywhere I went, everything I was doing, I was capitalizing on it by making content. And I think you have to have really strong work boundaries, otherwise you end up just burning out. And I did end up burning out. Last year, around this time actually, I did experience, I think, burnout for a good 6 months. You know, I was literally even capitalizing on my free time. I was thinking, oh, I'm watching a series, cool, well, I can be doing this while I'm watching this TV show instead of just relaxing. Oh, I could be posting or scheduling a few posts while I watch this TV program at 9 o'clock at night. Or, oh, I could be adding a few pictures to my workshop slides while I watch this TV series. Like, no, just let yourself enjoy life. Life is here for enjoying and not to be capitalizing on everything that you do. And I think if you get yourself into that point where you are basically a workaholic, it's really hard to get out of, and not realizing that having conversations with your friends, conversations with your family is productive time for your brain, in terms of like, it allows for productivity when you need to be, it allows for ideas to flow for when you need them. That play aspect, I guess, is fulfilled. So it means that work aspect is going to be so much easier to fulfill as well. Definitely go and read that book. It's so counterproductive when you don't give yourself rest. And I think I wish I knew that before, and I wish that I just let myself enjoy life and enjoy the journey. Like, we're not a fucking machine, we're here to also exist. And that leads into my next point, which is to just enjoy the journey. And that's something that, again, I still work through, definitely much better at doing it now, which is like, if I feel like a day off, I'm just gonna have a day off. Even when I'm eating sometimes, or like enjoying a meal, I'm just constantly thinking of the next moment and just lacking that present moment peace and that present moment feeling. So being able to enjoy the journey and realising that actually the journey is what makes it good is really important. I think sometimes I get very wrapped up in like, well, I'm going to be happy when I've achieved this goal. I'm going to be happy when I've got to this milestone. No, just enjoy the process of getting to that milestone. And I know this seems like a bit wishy-washy, but that is what life actually is. Like, the only real time we truly have is the present moment, and be able to take a second and step back and be like, actually, I'm really happy about this that's going on in my life right now. I'm excited about this challenge, you know, coming up soon. And I think when you see it like that, it's so much more fun. And I think, you know, for me personally, I am in that phase of thinking, oh, I kind of want to get to the next stage so that I can be like a full-time entrepreneur and a full-time creator. But I actually am really enjoying the journey of getting there. That's the satisfying part. Actually, you know, right now, filming the video, I'm loving doing this. This is such a lovely thing for me to do. But I forget that actually filming it is the fun part. The journey is what actual life is. If we don't acknowledge that, it will all pass us by and we'll be like, oh, that was actually such a lovely time in my life, but I didn't acknowledge it was lovely at the time. Final thing I will say is to be savvy with your money. I think for a long time, and I think certainly my early 20s, I didn't realise how much investment really mattered for a start. I didn't realise how saving really mattered. I kind of just spent the money that I had, and that was obviously great. To be fair, I did have like a lot of fun in my early 20s, but I'm kind of paying for it, I guess, now. Until I kind of got into the world of work, I didn't realise how hard it was sometimes to acquire money and the kind of grind that you had to put in to get money. And I didn't really understand how money worked. I know that sounds really weird, but I just didn't. I mean, I'm fortunate because I come from like a middle class background. I've pretty much never really had to worry about money until I got to my my early 20s. And then I was like, fuck, this is how money actually works. And realising and having more self-awareness around money and how it works. When I was 24 and 25, to be fair, I got into quite a lot of debt. So I was fortunate in the sense that I didn't get into debt or into an overdraft during my uni years. Obviously I had the student loan, so I did have that debt, and it was horrible. And it was because I just didn't have good spending habits. I was spending a lot of money on eating out and going out and spending money on drinks and sort of, I guess, like partying and lifestyle stuff. I was kind of like trying to maintain my uni lifestyle while working, and at the same time realising that corporate job wasn't for me. So I went to sort of waitressing and earning like a lower wage and so on, and really just grappling with money, trying to make money from content creation, and just that weird transition phase that I found myself in a lot of debt. And it's because I just wasn't being frugal. I was thinking that, especially as a fashion content creator on Instagram at the time, I just sort of felt like I needed to constantly be buying outfits. So I spend like 100 to 200 pounds on outfits and new clothes, and I get them and I wouldn't even like them, but I keep them, and it was just such a mess. Now that I am less focused on buying clothes and stuff, I actually have become, like I said, a lot more creative with what I make. And I even want to start sewing, because I can actually sew. I even want to start making my own clothes and being creative with it. So that's like a really great benefit. I've also got myself out of debt in the past year, really forcing myself to like take the L that is having to do maybe like a corporate job, when I probably want to work towards becoming, you know, a full-time entrepreneur and a full-time creator. Being frugal with my money and actually being very intentional about my money is something that I've really turned over a new leaf in my mid-20s, because I actually really care about where it's going in the future. And I think when you're young, you don't really have that feeling of foresight. You don't really think to yourself, oh, like, it's fine when I get older, or, you know, in the future it won't matter. Like, oh, you know, you kind of just assume that you'll be rich. You're kind of just, well, I did anyway, you'll assume that like things will just work out, and you actually, without realizing, you actually have to be intentional about it. You have to intentionally save. You have to allocate. You know, having like a payday routine is so key. I love doing my payday routine. I love doing spreadsheets. I love budgeting. I love it. Like now I've got all my expenses in one column and working out how much outgoings are going to be in the month, how much I'm going to have incoming. And that doesn't mean like not spending anything at all on the things that you love. It just means allocating certain amounts for it. And say if you only allocate like £100 for clothing per month, it means like waiting 2 or 3 months to be able to buy like a piece of clothing for £300. It's like it's just, I guess, that delayed gratification. My priority now is my business. My priority now is content creation, and the money that I have left over, I want to dedicate to those things. So yeah, just being intentional with it. Definitely, you know, obviously go and watch other resources on financial sort of literacy, financial health. Definitely no expert on that, but being more intentional with my money, wanting to save and wanting to allocate it for intentional things and letting it work for you, and investing it in things that you think are going to create more money for you, whether that's a business, whether that's in stocks and shares, whether that's in yourself, like learning, whether that's courses, whether that's a mentor, whether that's a coach. That's definitely something that I'm saving up for. That's the best way to spend your money. I think that's another thing about finances, like unfortunately it does keep you stuck when you don't have it, or you're not intentional with it. It kind of limits you, and like I said, you know, you kind of again end up getting into debt, and then you struggle to get out of debt, and it holds you back because you're trying to just get out of the debt or just get to zero. And that can really not only hold you back mentally, but obviously hold you back from investing in things that you really want to invest in. I think when you kind of get to a point where you're like, you know what, I actually don't want to be just surviving financially, and I want to be thriving, you do start to become more intentional with your money, because you realize that if you're not more intentional, if you don't budget, if you don't take care of it, it won't take care of your dreams and your goals. And that's something that I definitely realised. I've become more creative with food and with fashion because I spend less on it. And that's kind of like a nice byproduct of being intentional with your money. It doesn't mean you can't have nice things at all. It just means that maybe you have to wait a bit for those nice things. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took some value from it. I really, really appreciate you literally watching till the end. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps me out. I really, really appreciate it. And if you do kind of like mindset work, spirituality, self-development, this channel is definitely going to be for you. So it will be absolutely worth it. Anyway, with that, have a fantastic remainder of your day. I will see you in my next video. Bye.